Walmart and other retailers are preparing for what's coming after September. These changes, from economic policies that will hit your wallet hard to devastating shortages, will shock you. Walmart and the government are keeping this quiet, and what you don't know could leave you completely unprepared. Walmart is facing a challenge unlike anything in its history. With potential strikes at major ports and economic uncertainty looming, the retail giant is scrambling to keep its shelves stocked. But will their efforts be enough to weather the storm? Picture this: you're walking down the aisles of your local Walmart, and suddenly you notice entire sections are bare. The items you need most are nowhere to be found. Sounds like a nightmare, right? Well, it could become a reality sooner than you think. Why is this happening? It's a perfect storm of problems. Port strikes threaten to choke off supply chains. New economic policies are shaking up the market, and global events are causing ripple effects we can't ignore. But here's the kicker: Walmart knows something they're not telling you. Are you ready to uncover the truth? Before we move on, please help me spread the word by sharing this video with a friend who might like this information, and consider subscribing so you don't miss these regular updates. You might think you're safe from California's problems if you live elsewhere. Think again. The state's agricultural crisis is silently creeping into every corner of America, and your supermarket is ground zero. Are you prepared for the shock when you see your next receipt? California's role as America's fruit and vegetable basket is under threat, and it's about to hit you where it hurts most: your wallet. The Golden State produces over a third of the country's vegetables and 2/3 of its fruits and nuts, but trouble is brewing in this agricultural paradise. Imagine turning on your faucet and nothing comes out. That's the reality facing many California farmers. Persistent water scarcity is forcing tough choices. Farmers are cutting back on water-intensive crops and shelling out big bucks for fancy irrigation systems. Either way, it means higher costs and fewer crops making it to your dinner table. But it's not just about water. New environmental regulations are adding another layer of complexity. While these rules aim to protect our planet, they're also making it harder and more expensive for farmers to do their jobs. It's a classic case of good intentions leading to unintended consequences. And here's where it gets really interesting. California's recent legislative changes are throwing another wrench in the works. New proposed laws could allow non-citizens to buy homes with zero down payment. But there's a catch. More homes mean less land for farming. It's a domino effect that could further reduce food production and drive up prices. Now, you might be wondering, how bad can it really get? Well, brace yourself. The USDA predicts that food prices will continue to climb in 2024. They're forecasting a 2% increase overall. That might not sound like much, but remember, this comes on top of the steep increases we've already seen. Your grocery bill is about to take another hit. And it's not just California. Global events are stirring the pot too. The ongoing conflicts across the globe and the wild swings of what some call climate change are throwing curveballs at our food supply. It's like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube while riding a roller coaster, complicated and unpredictable. Here's where Walmart comes into the picture. As America's largest grocer, they're feeling the heat. Those who rely on Walmart for their groceries might soon face some serious challenges. Empty shelves and sky-high prices could become the new normal. Remember when $1 used to stretch a lot further at the checkout? Those days are fading fast. In recent years, the dollar has lost about 25% of its purchasing power. That means the same cart of groceries that cost you $100 a few years ago might now set you back $125 or more. So what does this all mean for you? Well, it's time to start thinking differently about your grocery shopping. Those weekly deals you've come to rely on, they might become more rare than a four-leaf clover. Your favorite brands? You might need to start exploring alternatives. While you're adjusting your shopping habits, Walmart is making moves behind the scenes. Ever wonder why they're suddenly treating canned goods like gold? The answer could change how you view your next grocery run. Walmart, America's retail giant, is gearing up for a potential crisis. They're not just tweaking their inventory, they're overhauling their entire strategy. The company is dramatically increasing its stock of key items like canned foods, pasta, and rice. But why? What does Walmart know that we don't? It all comes down to the looming threat of supply chain disruptions. Walmart is bracing for potential port strikes that could severely impact the availability of perishable items. By stockpiling non-perishable goods, they're creating a buffer against these possible shortages. It's like they're building a fortress of canned goods to weather the coming storm. But Walmart isn't stopping there. They're exploring alternative transportation methods, including air freight, to bypass congested ports. It's a bold move, but it comes with a hefty price tag. Air freight is significantly more expensive and has limited capacity. This could mean higher prices for consumers down the line. Walmart is also diversifying its supplier base. They're reducing dependency on any single port or geographic area. It's a smart strategy to mitigate risks associated with labor disputes and geopolitical tensions, but it's also a sign of just how seriously they're taking these potential disruptions. Now, you might be thinking, wow, Walmart's really on top of things, but here's the catch. Even these proactive measures might not be enough to prevent a crisis. Walmart is walking a tightrope between overstocking and understocking. Too much inventory ties up resources and risks waste. Too little could lead to empty shelves when we need supplies the most. The stakes are incredibly high. Port operations handle about 90% of all goods entering the United States. A widespread port strike could bring the entire supply chain to its knees. That's why Walmart isn't just stockpiling goods, they're also lobbying for government intervention to help resolve labor disputes before they escalate. Walmart's actions reflect a deeper concern within the retail industry about sustaining supplies of everyday necessities. They're preparing for a scenario where getting products from point A to point B becomes a major challenge. It's not just about having enough stock, it's about having the right stock in the right place at the right time. So what does this mean for you, the everyday shopper? Well, it's a mixed bag. On one hand, Walmart's preparations could help ensure that essential items remain available even if supply chains are disrupted. On the other hand, these measures could lead to higher prices as the costs of stockpiling and alternative transportation are passed on to consumers. The key takeaway here is that Walmart's actions are a canary in the coal mine. They're signaling potential challenges ahead in our supply chains and economy. While their preparations may help cushion the blow, they're not a guarantee against shortages or price hikes. As we move forward, it's crucial to stay informed and prepared. Walmart's strategies offer insight into what we might expect in the coming months. By understanding their playbook, we can better navigate the changing landscape of retail and adjust our own shopping strategies accordingly. You've seen the changes at Walmart, but have you noticed what's happening in your own kitchen? That carton of eggs in your fridge tells a bigger story than you might think, one that's about to reshape your entire shopping experience. Remember when eggs cost less than your morning coffee? Those days are quickly becoming a distant memory. The price of eggs has skyrocketed, with costs in California now 3 times higher than they were in early 2023. This dramatic increase isn't just about eggs, it's a symptom of a much larger problem affecting our entire food supply chain. The ongoing war in Ukraine is having far-reaching consequences on global food supplies. Ukraine, often called the breadbasket of Europe, is a major wheat producer. With production levels plummeting due to the conflict, wheat prices have soared. It's not just about bread and pasta, it's about the ripple effect on countless food products that use wheat as an ingredient. And it's not just international conflicts causing problems. Climate change and extreme weather patterns are throwing another wrench into the works. We're expecting a strong El Niño in 2024, which could lead to devastating droughts in some areas and flooding in others. These extreme conditions will likely affect crop yields in vulnerable regions, further straining our food supply. Let's talk about your morning toast. The USDA is projecting that the price of butter will increase by 65 cents in 2024. Why? It's a combination of lower than expected milk production and ongoing worker shortages in the dairy industry. This seemingly small increase can add up quickly when you consider all the items in your shopping cart. And it's not just dairy. Remember those wheat issues we mentioned earlier? They're leading to anticipated flour shortages. With Ukraine's grain exports disrupted and climate change reducing wheat crop yields, we're looking at a double whammy that will impact both the price and availability of flour. These price increases and potential shortages aren't just numbers on a page, they're having real impacts on families across the country. Many people are already adjusting their shopping habits, buying less of certain items or switching to cheaper alternatives. Some are even skipping meals to make ends meet. Imagine this scenario. You're planning a family gathering, maybe a birthday party or a holiday dinner. You head to Walmart with your shopping list, only to find that half the items you need are either out of stock or priced way beyond your budget. It's not a far-fetched scenario. It's becoming increasingly likely as these supply chain issues worsen. The USDA predicts that food food prices will continue to climb in 2024, with an overall increase of about 2%. Well, that might not sound like much. Remember that this is on top of the steep increases we've already seen in recent years. Your grocery bill is about to take another hit, and it's not just one or two items, it's across the board. These rising costs aren't just affecting consumers. Walmart and other retailers are feeling the squeeze too. They're forced to make tough decisions about which products to stock, how much inventory to keep on hand, and how to price items to stay competitive while still turning a profit. This balancing act could lead to less variety on store shelves and potentially higher prices for the items that remain. So what does all this mean for you? Well, it's time to start thinking differently about your grocery shopping. Those weekly deals you've come to rely on might become more rare than a four-leaf clover. Your favorite brands? You might need to start exploring alternatives or be prepared to pay a premium. As grocery prices climb, a surprising trend is emerging among savvy shoppers. They're turning their kitchens into fortresses against economic uncertainty. What do they know that you don't? It's time to think of your pantry as more than just a storage space. In these unpredictable times, it could be your best defense against rising food costs and potential shortages. But how do you transform your kitchen into an economic shield? Let's start with the basics. Stockpiling non-perishable items when prices are stable is a smart move. It's not about hoarding, it's about strategic purchasing. Keep an eye on staples like rice, pasta, and canned goods. When you see a good deal, consider buying a little extra. This approach can help you weather price hikes and temporary shortages. But which items should you focus on? Pay attention to products that are likely to be affected by supply chain disruptions. Wheat-based products, for example, might become more scarce due to the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Dairy items like butter are projected to see significant price increases. By stocking up on these items now, you could save yourself from sticker shock later. Monitoring prices is key to this strategy. Have you ever noticed how the cost of your favorite cereal fluctuates from week to week? Start keeping track of these changes. You might be surprised at the patterns you discover. When you spot a downward trend, that's your cue to stock up. Now let's talk about diversification. Just as financial advisors recommend diversifying your investment portfolio, the same principle applies to your pantry. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, literally or figuratively. Explore alternative brands and products. You might find a new favorite that's easier on your wallet. But preparation isn't just about food, it's about overall financial readiness. Remember how we discussed the weakening dollar and rising inflation? This is where that knowledge comes into play. Consider setting aside a portion of your budget specifically for groceries. As prices rise, you'll be glad you planned ahead. Have you thought about growing some of your own food? Even if you don't have a green thumb, starting small with herbs or tomatoes can be a rewarding way to supplement your pantry. Plus, it's a hedge against produce shortages and price hikes. Let's not forget about community resources. Food co-ops and bulk buying groups are gaining popularity. These can be excellent ways to access quality products at lower prices. Have you looked into options in your area? Now you might be wondering, isn't this all a bit extreme? It's a fair question, but consider this. Preparing now doesn't just protect you from potential shortages, it also gives you peace of mind. Knowing you have a well-stocked pantry means one less thing to worry about in uncertain times. Remember, this isn't about panic buying, it's about smart strategic planning. Think of it as creating a buffer between you and whatever economic curveballs might come your way. By taking these steps, you're not just preparing for the worst, you're setting yourself up to thrive regardless of what happens. So as you plan your next grocery trip, take a moment to consider your long-term strategy. Are you buying just for this week, or are you investing in your future food security? With a little forethought and planning, you can turn your kitchen into a powerful tool for financial stability. You forfeited your kitchen, but what if the real battle for your dinner table is happening at the docks? As trucks sit idle and ships wait offshore, a hidden threat to your food security is brewing, and it's bigger than any one supermarket can handle. Have you ever wondered how a truckers' strike in Los Angeles could affect your dinner table in Chicago? The answer lies in the complex web of our global supply chains. These intricate networks connect farmers, manufacturers, and retailers across the world, bringing products to your local Walmart shelves. But this system, while efficient, is also fragile. Let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. The potential strikes at major U.S. ports aren't just a local issue, they're a threat to the entire retail landscape. Ports handle about 90% of all goods entering the United States. That means almost everything you buy, from your morning coffee to your evening snack, has likely passed through a port at some point. Now, imagine if these ports suddenly stopped working. The ripple effects would be felt in every corner of the country, from small-town grocery stores to big city supermarkets. But why are these labor disputes so hard to resolve? It's not as simple as giving workers a raise. The negotiations involve multiple stakeholders, each with their own interests and constraints. There are labor unions fighting for job security in the face of increasing automation. Port authorities are trying to maintain efficiency and competitiveness. Shipping companies are balancing costs and schedules, and government agencies are attempting to keep the economy running smoothly. It's like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube where each turn affects not just one side, but the entire puzzle. One wrong move and the whole system could grind to a halt. Walmart, being the retail giant it is, isn't sitting idly by. They're actively lobbying for government intervention to prevent these potential strikes from escalating. But even with their considerable influence, there's no guarantee of a quick resolution. The government has tools at its disposal, like the Taft-Hartley Act, which can be invoked to maintain national health and safety. But using such measures is a delicate balancing act. Push too hard and it could exacerbate tensions. Don't push hard enough and the disruptions could spiral out of control. To understand the gravity of this situation, it's helpful to look at past crises. Remember the global financial crisis of 2008? It led to significant changes in consumer behavior and retail practices. People started shopping differently, businesses had to adapt quickly, and some industries were forever changed. Or think about the supply chain disruptions we saw during the pandemic. Remember the toilet paper shortage? That was just a glimpse of what can happen when our finely tuned supply chains are thrown off balance. These past events teach us an important lesson. Our global economy is more interconnected than ever before. A problem in one area can quickly become everyone's problem. But it's not just about economics. There's an environmental aspect to this crisis that often gets overlooked. When ships are forced to idle offshore due to port strikes, they continue to burn fuel. This leads to increased emissions, contributing to air pollution and negatively impacting coastal communities. It's a stark reminder that labor disputes can have far-reaching consequences beyond just empty shelves and higher prices. So what does all this mean for you? Well, it's a wake-up call. The food on your plate and the products in your home are part of a vast, complex system. Understanding this system and its vulnerabilities is the first step in preparing for potential disruptions. As we've seen, the economic landscape is shifting rapidly, and staying informed is your best defense. Keep an eye on those economic indicators and supply chain news. They're your early warning system for what's coming. Remember the key steps we discussed: stockpile non-perishables wisely, diversify your pantry, and consider growing some of your own food. These small actions can make a big difference when prices climb or shortages hit. The reality is that prices will likely continue to increase, making it crucial for consumers to stay informed and adjust their budgets accordingly. It's not just about surviving the changes, it's about adapting and thriving in the face of them. You've got the knowledge now. Use it to prepare yourself and your family for whatever comes next. Remember, being prepared isn't about panic, it's about peace of mind. Thanks for watching, and please make sure you subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and watch this one as well.